Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we have two very interesting topics to go and cover. Number one is that there's actually a brand new PlayStation Studio with a lot of big all-star cast going on, so we'll talk about that in the second half of the video. And as well, we also have a brand new subject that people are bringing up today and kind of caused a bit of commotion going on called disc rot. Now, as you guys probably know on our channel, I have touched on game preservation and the idea that I like physical copies and collectibles, and well, that's why I like just buying stuff, like trying to get like these collector's editions and trying to go get all these special things. I like that. I like physically having that. And I think a lot of people in the community also do agree. A lot of us are console gamers or grew up with games or have an old N64, PS1, PS2, and well, we've always just enjoyed actually having something physical. Now, this is maybe a little bit of an interesting topic because I think that at this day and age with all these discs and stuff, it does make things a little easier to save, and well, we have a lot of things in emulation, stuff like that. So it's like maybe not the biggest deal, like with things copy pasting and printing, but well, some people think that this might be the next big era on things we have to worry about. So subscribe if you guys are intrigued on the video, you guys enjoy it throughout this one. Check out the second YouTube account and the Twitters and Twitches down below. And of course, if we have early access, which we actually might be doing a YouTube stream on Assassin's Creed, the brand new one. We'll let you guys know how it's going to plan out maybe tomorrow, so be on the lookout on the YouTube channel. If we do have that, I'll let you guys go and know. Well, so we'll do the disc rot first and then the studio right after. Actually, let's go to the opposite, actually. Kind of surprisingly, but I don't know, just feel like it. So PlayStation, basically, if you guys missed it, formed a new studio, Dark Outlaw Games, with the Call of Duty Zombies lead of Jason Blundell. So the new first-party studio comes from one of the minds behind Treyarch's beloved Con Zombies, and it's just cool. So basically, it's just these old, like, big Treyarch, big figureheads over here, too, as well, and he was working with Activision for 13 years, and basically left in 2020, and then he also made Deviation Games 2 as well. So they never had a chance to release that game. I remember covering the Deviation games when it first came out, and well, as in an interview, they did go and confirm that there's a new studio is staffing up, and he basically can't wait to go and share more on the studio itself in the future, saying I've had amazing opportunities to create a new studio within PlayStation Studios for Sony, and the studio is called Dark Outlaw 2 as well. They've been working on things for a while, and when they have a chance to talk about something, we're gonna go and bring it on up. And obviously, they're saying it's like a privilege, they're working on PlayStation. This kind of means that there's more big games coming out at the end of the day. So over, like, for at least for Deviation, which is now not there anymore, they had over 100 people strong too as well. So it's very nice to go and see that there is some cool stuff in the works. Now, as I mentioned, it's a little bit like, I guess, the drama of the day too as well. Disc rot. So they're saying this is already afflicting your physical game collections, and people are worried about the super long term. Like, we had issues with like CMOS batteries and things like, Game Boy games that will eventually just go and taper on out, or like hardware that just doesn't exist anymore. You can't play your PS1 or N64 or Super Nintendo, whatever it might be, GameCube, then well, you can't do much unless you have a chance to emulate it. So saying with the console wars officially just being over, and we even touched on that this week, gamers need something to debate endlessly. And the digital versus physical argument, which we've actually touched on a little bit ourselves, I like it. I'm always a big fan of physical. Leave your thoughts down below. Argument makes for as good as a fight as any other. Both positions have clear upsides and downsides, and you're either in one camp or the other. However, some fresh fuel has been dumped on the fire, and did you know that your physical game collection is rotting as we speak? Now, rotting's kind of crazy because some of you guys take good care. You have it in a case, like you always reprint discs too and just copy paste them. Like, we have the technology to do that. So maybe it's not the biggest, craziest stuff, but this is where people are thinking, well, this might be rough because, well, digital servers might shut down, and then what happens? Well, what about physical in 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Now, we haven't really had that. Like, I mean, the PlayStation's been out for a while. I mean, let's be honest. I'm probably more, in my opinion, maybe more concerned on obscure things, like I said, for GameCubes or N64s. I think most discs, though, are probably going to be around for almost forever. But they're saying the Gamer just published a fascinating article that looks into Warner Bros. New DVD exchange program for those experiencing premature disc rot, sometimes known as laser rot. So basically just the idea like the lasers are not scanning through the disc itself from degradation and just general wear and tear. Maybe it's stored improperly. Maybe it's just, it just is how it is. Like, stuff does eventually decay as much as we all wish it wouldn't. Old cars, even at the end of the day, could be looking fantastic, but they sit on the rain, they get rusted. There's nothing we can kind of really go and do. But they're saying, regardless of the name, disc rot refers to the chemical deterioration that affects all discs sooner or later, eventually making them unreadable. This inevitable fate awaits all CDs, DVDs, and Blu-rays. CDs have around a 50 to 100-year lifespan, so I don't think most of us should be super worried about this stuff, and I think that's what most people agree. I myself would agree. It's like, it's an issue. And game preservation long-term is an issue, and I'm sure there's some CDs out there that might be getting close to like 30 years. I mean, I remember having CDs when I was like younger, my dude. Like it's weird. Or think like things like VHS is like those things are gonna go probably way quicker, like just the way the lands. Basically, DVDs are supposed to have it last around 30 to 100 years, and despite being the newest iteration, the Blu-ray discs that PS5 games are printed on have the shortest life expectancy, though, and are only estimated to last around 20 years under ideal conditions. That is crazy. So your potential PS5 game could be gone in 20 years. So we have the physical edition, and then you have the weird stuff like with like the CMOS batteries and these online servers and all of that stuff. That does lead to a lot of issues at the end of the day. As the very oldest DVDs ever produced, such as basically like Squishers editor Sammy Barkers, who I always want to say I do always like Sammy's articles, so shout out to them, shout out to Push Square in general, aren't even 30 and they've already begun to fail. So some of their stuff that they already have in the first place is failing. It's having problems. And this will happen over time. But I think it's also just the natural curse of life. And that's why I think things like emulation should always be incentivized and pushed. I want to have my games saved. I want to have old school games and game files to never be lost. And if these game companies like PlayStation or Xbox or Nintendo are not doing it, allow the people with the actual technology and the original files to go and do it. Because I'm sure there's some random guy with the data center of every single N64 game out there, and look at things like Dolphin and other emulators that are already kind of involved in doing that. Like we have a chance to get these games, and they're kind of saving the gaming long term. But it's intriguing to note that, well, over time, we actually might not have a chance to keep these discs that we have. 20, 30 years down the road, our PS5 games might be gone. And do a lot of us care? I usually kind of lean towards, not really, because a lot of stuff is on digital. Like, it's just how it kind of works out. It's fine. 30 years from now, if it still works, that's great. But if it doesn't, I'm sure there's some way for us to replicate it or copy paste it. Or I'm sure there's, like I said, emulated files online. And you can maybe even emulate those same files and then port it to like a CD producer, Blu-ray producer, whatever it might be. And then, life, it finds a way. Like, it's kind of okay. But this is all in combination of just, well, people are like, what's going to happen just way down the line? Thankfully, we have like 20, 30, 40 years. They're even saying something maybe up to 50, 100 years. So it's not the biggest deal. But as I mentioned, like people are concerned about it. I think this one's not as bad though. Like a CMOS battery, like in online servers, and because we've already seen it. Like we've seen, specific old school game servers, like Nintendo servers get shut down. E-store shops being shut down. People cannot access certain individual games anymore because they're just shut down. Like they don't exist. So then what's going to happen 10 years after with like, say your Nintendo is having issues with the CMOS batteries, and then you lose all your save data. You can't go and even save and access the digital games you saved. Same with the PlayStation 5 in the future. You went pure digital, the servers go offline. Eventually the PS5 will be done, and all the money you spend right now will be rendered useless. Now, once again, this is kind of fear-mongering. I would say yes. I don't think it's the biggest deal. Like, we'll probably have some workarounds, or like I said, emulation will and probably hopefully will still exist in the future, but it is crazy to see that right now people are concerned about disc rot and DVDs going away and all of this. So they're saying disc rot can be postponed by keeping your collection in a cool, dry environment, free of humidity, out of UV light, and sealed to prevent oxidation. Still, that's assuming that your precious disc were pristine and not defective, or let's say you like touched it and then you cleaned it, but you missed a spot, or you missed like a finger smudge, and then 20 years down the road, then that one spot somehow becomes contaminated. Like, it happens. I'm sure you guys know what I mean. But it's weird. I don't think it's the biggest deal. Like I said, we have alternatives, and I do think there's a strong community based on like the YouTube comments I get and people on Twitter reaffirming that they care about this stuff. They want to do this type of stuff as well. And they also have other things like streaks or spots or shadows or discolorations on the underside are all telltale signs that the degradation process is underway. And it's also ironic too because it's just to back it up digitally. But that's not what people want. They want to have that physical collection for 30, 40 years, or resell it, or have that money come back, or just have a collectible too. Like I'm more on the collectible side. I think always like kind of like a bookshelf that's fully like fleshed on out, or like your video games all lined up. I like that vibe. I think it's always been really kind of cool. So I'm curious because some things also might be up to 30 years old right now on the PlayStation 1 end. So at some point we actually might have these things start getting degraded, and it might not be the best vibe. Now, I looked in some Twitter comments on this too as well, and some people are like, hey man, this could be clickbait, like what is this garbage? And I'm kind of with that a little bit. Like I think it's a little extraneous. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's something that happens right now, but maybe it's for something, maybe someone cares. Maybe you want to protect your stuff. You have a PS2 game, PS1 game, you want to be a little bit more careful at too as well. And I think this is all big stuff too as well, because I was trying to say, it's like we have emulation, we have other things to worry about, we have things to kind of protect it. We have people making these emulators like Dolphin and everything else. So I don't think this is like the end of the world. But I do think it's something that we should always care about, and they kind of push for game preservation, push for emulation, and push for the idea of keeping the most games out there too as well. Because I mean, what's going to happen to the PS5 in 20 years? We don't know what's going to happen to the PS5 in 50 years. I'm not even sure how many people are going to be curious about it, besides maybe niche collectors. But I still think it's something that's special to me and something that I like. So I do think you guys should try to keep your stuff in good condition if you care. Or, well, maybe it's just not a big deal and you guys are kind of like these people thinking, like, who kind of cares at the end of the day? Now, I agree. Like, I also can copy paste discs and stuff. Like, there's workarounds, as I mentioned throughout the video. But it is an intriguing topic that this was kind of brought up and people were talking about it and discussing it. So I want to talk about it myself. So give me your thoughts and comments on everything down below. Do you guys care? Is it a big deal? And of course, what do you think about the brand new PlayStation Studio with brand new games coming out? Subscribe if you guys are new. Subscribe for the second YouTube account, the Twitters and Twitches, and I appreciate y'all so much for watching in the first place.